Welcome to the module on assistive technology, environmental modifications, and personal emergency response systems. In this training, we will review the definitions and usages of these services, provide examples of both low-tech and high-tech technology, review the standards necessary for division approval of these services, and review how to write these services into the individual service plan. Assistive technology, environmental modifications, and personal emergency response systems, or PERS, are all things that can increase a person's independence and quality of life. As such, they are important services to consider for individuals who may benefit. In general, assistive technology can be defined as any item, device, or piece of equipment used by an individual to increase functional capacity and independence. Environmental modifications are physical changes to the environment that make it more accessible, and personal emergency response systems are devices used by an individual to secure help in an emergency. We will review each of these in further detail throughout this module. Let's begin with assistive technology. Assistive technology can be any piece of equipment, device, computer software, or other product that helps a person to increase functional capacity and independence. It can address limitations in many areas, such as communication, speaking, writing, walking, dressing, pointing, and other physical capacities. Assistive technology can range from simple, low-tech products to complex, high-tech equipment. An individual's specific needs will determine what type of assistive technology is needed. It is important when speaking to your individuals that you have conversations about what barriers or limitations they may be facing and in what settings they are having difficulty. For example, someone who is functioning well and completing daily tasks at home without difficulty may be facing a challenge at work or in completing certain job duties. These types of in-depth discussions will help you to determine if there are ways that assistive technology might be used to overcome barriers, increase community access, and potentially improve quality of life. We will review some examples of assistive technology in subsequent slides. Assistive technology can include things such as physical hardware and devices, computer hardware and software, and specialized learning materials, among others. Physical hardware examples include prosthetics, braces, walkers, wheelchairs or scooters, mounting systems, power lifts, and positioning devices. Computer hardware and software includes items such as switches, specialized keyboards, adaptive mice, screen readers, text-to-speech output, and word prediction software. Specialized learning materials might include electronic worksheets, live scribe pens and notebooks, electronic spellers and dictionaries, and talking calculators. This list is certainly not all-inclusive, but it should give you an idea of the wide range of things available to help your individual overcome potential barriers. Most times when people think of assistive technology, they think of complex and expensive equipment, computers, or other complicated devices. In fact, there are many simple, inexpensive, and even free things that people use every day that can be thought of as assistive technology. Examples of this might be glasses, contacts, or sunglasses and tinted lenses, magnifiers or large print type icons, highlighters, post-it notes, headphones, Velcro and fasteners, smartphones and apps, smartwatches, timers and reminders, devices such as Amazon Echo or Google Home, and tablets and computers. This slide shows some additional examples of both low-tech and high-tech assistive technology. Again, which item is needed is dependent upon an individual's specific needs, functional capacity, and cognitive ability. Some people may be able to use a simple paper or felt communication board, while others may require more complex electronic equipment. As always, determining a person's needs comes from person-centered planning, in-depth conversation, and monitoring of services, as well as information from the New Jersey CAT assessment. In cases where more complex or individualized technology is needed, an evaluation by a rehabilitation professional may be necessary. A rehabilitation professional can assess specific needs, customize technology to suit those needs, and ensure that a person is able to use and benefit from the technology. We will discuss the DDD requirements for assistive technology evaluations later in this presentation. Now that we have reviewed assistive technology, let's look at environmental modifications. Like assistive technology, environmental modifications are meant to improve independence, accessibility, and safety, and are based on the specific needs of the individual. Environmental modifications may also be simple or complex. The key difference between assistive technology and environmental modifications is that environmental modifications are actual physical changes to the environment that are necessary to ensure the health, welfare, safety, and functional independence of the individual. Let's look at a few examples. Some common examples of environmental modifications with which you may be familiar are ramps and large doorways, electronic door openers, accessible bathrooms, and grab bars and handrails. More complex modifications could include overhead track systems to assist with lifting or transferring, stair lifts, and specialized electric and plumbing systems necessary to accommodate and operate medical equipment. Again, many of these modifications require an evaluation and installation by a rehabilitation professional. We will talk about the process of requesting rehabilitation technology evaluations and the specific requirements of the DDD in approving these services in the next few slides. The need for assistive technology and environmental modifications must be documented in the Person-Centered Planning Tool and/or the New Jersey Comprehensive Assessment Tool, or NJCAT. Both of these services require a prior functional evaluation and approval from the DDD. The evaluation is performed by an assistive technology service provider who can be found by using the provider search function in iRecord. Keep in mind that service evaluations can only be completed by a DDD-approved provider and that it is the support coordinator's responsibility to help the individual find a provider if necessary. Once a provider is found, the support coordinator will complete the Assistive Technology Environmental Modification Evaluation Request Form and upload it to the Tools tab in iRecord. Here we see what the Assistive Technology Environmental Modification Evaluation Request Form looks like. When completing this form, be sure that you are specific in describing the need for the assistive technology or environmental modification. The need is identified through the NJCAT assessment and the person-centered planning process with the individual and the team. The DDD will review this form and supporting justification and will approve or deny the request. Now let's take a look at the specific steps you will need to take to access assistive technology and environmental modification services for an individual. First, the support coordinator assists the individual in identifying an approved provider to conduct an evaluation. The evaluation request is submitted and either approved or denied by the DDD. Note that if an evaluation has already been completed by another source, for example, a school, the support coordinator should include that information within the evaluation request and upload the completed evaluation to iRecord under the Documents tab. The division may use this information to skip a new evaluation if the necessary information is already available. If approved, the support coordinator will add assistive technology or environmental modification into the individual's service plan. Upon approval of the ISP, the provider conducts the evaluation and makes recommendations for the specific technology or modification needed. The support coordinator then submits a request to the DDD to review and approve the technology itself. Once approved by the DDD, assistive technology or environmental modification is then put into the service plan. Please note that there are different service codes for evaluation, purchase, and monitoring of technology. Be sure you are using the proper codes when inputting services into the plan. Codes are found in Section 17 of the Supports Program or Community Care Program manuals. Any questions related to this process can be directed to the Service Approval Help Desk at the website listed below. The next few slides will walk you through the steps we just discussed in terms of how to input the information into iRecord. Here you see where to access the evaluation service request. Go to Tools and click on Evaluations. This will open a box where you can make the evaluation request. Click on the plus sign and another box opens up to put in the specific information, including the service, vendor, and cost. Once the request is added, the evaluation box will show the status of the request, either pending, approved, or completed. Clicking on any of the evaluations will bring up details of the request as seen on the right. Note that there is an option to upload documents, for example, if an evaluation has already been completed. After the evaluation has been completed and specific devices or technology recommended by the rehabilitation technology provider, the support coordinator will complete the purchase request form shown here. This form, along with a copy of the evaluation and a quote or estimate for the equipment or modification, is then uploaded and the evaluation status is changed to completed. The ISP is then put into service review for the DDD to approve or deny. By now you should have a good understanding of assistive technology and environmental modifications and how to put these services into the ISP. There are, however, a few final things to review. These services do not just include the evaluation and the purchase of the equipment itself. Additional things these services may cover include designing, fitting, customizing, maintaining, repairing, and replacing assistive technology devices, ongoing maintenance fees to utilize the assistive technology, coordination and use of necessary therapies, interventions, or services with assistive technology devices, training or technical assistance for the participant or, where appropriate, the family members, guardians, advocates, or authorized representatives of the participant, and training or technical assistance for professionals or other individuals who provide services to or who are employed by participants. It is also important to keep in mind that providers of assistive technology and environmental modifications must meet certain standards and criteria. All providers must comply with the standards set forth in the Supports Program and Community Care Program manuals, and they must meet licensing requirements for their profession, for example, physical, occupational, or speech therapy licenses. Assistive technology specialists must have a bachelor's degree in a related field and be certified by the Rehabilitation, Engineering, and Assistive Technology Society of North America. All technology devices must meet applicable standards of manufacture, design, and installation. Assistive technology vendors must be an established business as a medical supplier or assistive technology supplier in New Jersey, or have a license, certification, registration, or authorization from the New Jersey Department of Consumer Affairs or other entity. Providers of environmental modifications must be registered and licensed contractors, and all modifications must meet applicable state or local building codes. Finally, all vendors must have liability insurance. Now let's take a few minutes to discuss vehicle modifications. Vehicle modifications are defined as any adaptations or alterations to an automobile or van in order to accommodate the special needs of an individual. The vehicle must be the individual's primary means of transportation, and the adaptations must be necessary to enable the person to integrate more fully into the community and to ensure the person's health, welfare, and safety. Excluded from this service are adaptations or improvements that are of general utility and not of direct medical or remedial benefit to the individual. Also excluded are any regular maintenance or upkeep of the vehicle or the purchase or lease of a vehicle. Here you see some examples of what may constitute a vehicle modification. This list is not all-inclusive, but modifications can include vehicle steering controls, brake controls, vehicle lifts, vehicle ramps, and raising or lowering of the vehicle roof or floor. The general procedures and guidelines applicable to assistive technology and environmental modifications also apply to vehicle modifications. This includes that all vehicle modifications are subject to prior approval from the DDD. The need for the service must be documented in the NJCAT or PCPT, and all modifications must be compliant with New Jersey State Motor Vehicle Codes. In addition, providers must comply with standards set forth in the program manuals, and they must meet industry licensing and accreditation standards. For vehicle modifications, accreditation is given by the National Mobility Equipment Dealers Association, or NMEDA. The steps to accessing the vehicle modification service are also similar to those for assistive technology and environmental modifications. First, the support coordinator helps the individual identify a provider and obtains a bid and supporting documentation. Once the provider is determined and an estimate received, the support coordinator completes the vehicle modifications request form, uploads the form and the bid to iRecord, and notifies the division at the DDD Service Approval Help Desk, whose email is noted below. The division will review the bid and supporting documentation and provide a determination. If approved, the support coordinator adds vehicle modifications to the service plan, and the provider can then render services. When the services are complete, documentation of the service must be provided, including the date, start and end times, and number of units of the delivered service. When obtaining bids from vehicle modification providers, keep in mind that the bids must include the following: the requested item needed, including name, model number, and any other identifying specifications and measurements, the unit cost and quantity needed with the total quoted price, a clear itemization of cost of material, labor, and shipping if applicable, and the name and address of the vendor on company letterhead, including the vendor's federal ID number and representative's name, phone number, and email address. The next thing we will review are personal emergency response systems, or PERS. A PERS is an electronic device that enables an individual to secure help in an emergency. Oftentimes, this is a help button that can be worn around a person's neck or on the body to allow for mobility and easy access. The device is connected to the individual's phone and programmed to signal a response center when activated. Staff at the response centers are trained professionals who can dispatch the proper emergency responders as needed. The need for a PERS device is identified through the New Jersey Comprehensive Assessment Tool and during discussion in the Person-Centered Planning process, which is documented in the Person-Centered Planning tool. Once the need is identified, an outcome is written into the individual service plan that relates to the result expected from the use of the PERS equipment. The service may include the PERS equipment, the cost of installation and testing, and any monthly service fees of the response service center. When including a personal emergency response system into an individual's plan, it is important to keep in mind that both the equipment and the providers of the equipment must meet certain standards. The equipment itself must meet applicable standards of manufacture, design, and installation, and be UL/ETL approved devices. Providers of equipment must meet licensing and certification requirements, including being certified by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They must also comply with standards set forth in the Supports Program and Community Care Program manuals. This service is also subject to prior approval by DDD on an individual basis. This slide will show you how to enter PERS into the service plan. The outcome is written based on the need identified in the PCPT or NJCAT assessment. The service is entered as Personal Emergency Response System. The plan is placed into service review for DDD approval. You should now have a good understanding of how assistive technology, environmental modifications, and personal response systems can be utilized to enhance a person's safety, independence, functional capacities, and access to the community. As always, in-depth conversation and knowledge of your client's needs will ensure that individuals are living their lives to their fullest capacity and achieving their hopes and dreams for a fulfilled life.